Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar today. Welcome to the webinar from Express Analytics. Is a customer data platform a cure-all for marketing? We will get started quickly. My name is Mahesh, and I'm the VP of Consulting Services here at Express Analytics. And welcome again to the webinar. In today's webinar, we will talk about customer data platforms, see how CDPs can help marketing organizations, and if the CDP is a cure-all for marketing needs. Today's speakers are Samir Varudkar and Udayan Kirkar. Samir is our product engineering head. He is an expert in enterprise data architecture, predictive modeling, data integration, and business intelligence strategy. And Udayan is our Vice President of Global Sales. He has more than 30 years of experience in sales management, marketing, partner management, and he has done so in both the products and services business. So welcome, Samir and Udayan. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right.
I can hear you fine, Mahesh.
All right. Thanks, Udayan and Samir. So for all the attendees, before we kick off the webinar itself, a quick introduction of Express Analytics. We are a data analytics company delivering cloud-based analytics solutions, especially serving the retail marketing industry. We are a global company headquartered in the USA, and we have many delivery as well as sales teams in multiple locations in India, Japan, UK, as well as Malaysia. And we have been serving many Fortune 500 companies for the past 20 years. Now, there's a little bit of housekeeping that I would like to take out of our way. Just a couple announcements from my side. First, while the webinar is on, you will be asked to answer some opinion polls. I will be putting those polls on your screens, and all your inputs and are welcome, and they're very important to us. So please take time to answer. And second, during the webinar, all the attendees will be on mute. Right now, all of you guys are on mute as well. However, please feel free to key in all your questions in the chat box on the GoToWebinar app, and we will take those questions and answer them at the end of the session. Today's webinar would be a question and answer session between Udayan and Samir. Udayan will play the role of a marketer and ask questions on the behalf of all the marketing people. And Samir will answer those questions as a CDP advocate. So Samir, you are a presenter. Can you get into the presenter mode, please?
Sure. Am I not in presenter mode already?
No.
Okay, give me a moment.
All right. While Samir is on that, let's do a quick poll before we start. So this is the first question that I'm going to put forth for this session. The question is launched right now. So you should be able to see the question or the poll on your screen. Please take a little bit of time and answer the question as best as you can. We will give everybody 20 to 30 seconds to finish answering, and then I will close the poll, and then I will share the results as well. All right, I see people answering. The numbers are changing. I see people are still answering. So uh, maybe a few more seconds till everybody else is done. All right, I think everybody has answered. So I'm going to close the poll and I will share the results. So we had asked about the top marketing challenges. Looks like customer segmentation and analytics and decisioning are the top ones, with half of you saying that they are your challenges. Perfect. So we have analytics and decisioning and customer segmentation with a little bit of identity resolution and data management as well. Great. We will share these results outside of this webinar as well. But now let's go back to the webinar. And with this, I hand over to Udayan and Samir.
Thank you, Mahesh, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Once again, thank you for joining the webinar. My name is Udayan Kelkar. I'm the VP of Sales at Express Analytics. And I hope you'll find the webinar informative and useful. So let's get started. So Samir, as VP of Sales at Express Analytics, now I get an opportunity to meet a lot of marketers all over US and Europe. Now, one of the topics that almost all of them raise is the customer data platforms, or CDPs. Now, as we all know, in marketing, technology has evolved rapidly over the last decade or so. And there's a lot of new solutions and products out there like CRMs, DSPs, DMPs, etc. And in the last couple of years now, the buzzword seems to be CDPs. So my first question to you is, what exactly is a CDP?
So then a customer data platform, or CDP, is a persistent unified customer database consisting of accurate holistic profiles for each customer. This is done by joining a customer's interactions through all the major channels that you track. This includes email, point of sale data, call center logs, mobile app usage, browsing data, even whether they're searching keywords that you have flagged on Google AdWords as being related to your company. In fact, if you have a brick and mortar store and the ability to do so, you can even use data derived from in-store security feeds for facial recognition and footfall data to help build this profile. All of these disparate data sources are fed into a CDP to form a single profile, which can then be used for segmentation, targeting, and personalized user experience, and is accessible from external sources. This database is what we call a CDP.
Yeah, we know it's all about data. And in fact, there has been an explosion in customer-related data points. I was reading an article about the amount of data that is being generated. It's almost 2.5 quintillion bytes every day. Now, a lot of this is available to marketers to form the basis of their analytics. However, I believe it's in various formats, and it's sourced from different types of apps. It is structured and unstructured. Now, you mentioned that a CDP can handle many types of disparate data sources. But what kind of data can a CDP intake? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so here's an infographic to maybe give you a better way to visualize this. So a CDP is format agnostic because it can take both structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data, and is accepting of first, second, and third-party data. That is, data that is provided by a client, data that is provided by a client's vendors through that client, as well as industry data coming from such sources as Experian and Dun & Bradstreet. By using multiple sources of data, you maximize the number of data points that can be utilized to construct your profile and be cross-checked for accuracy. So to help visualize this, you have numerous data sources that are of different data types: personal and demographic identifying information of the customer, data on their behaviors, data on their campaign engagement statistics, sales data, as well as data on the devices that they're using. All of these are fed into a data integration layer which is then fed into our process for a customer data platform, where first things first, we assign a master customer ID so that we can track that customer's behavior across multiple devices. Then we use that to extrapolate and form a set of insights related to the multi-channel journey that a customer goes on. Based off of this information, we generate a profile for that customer and use that to segment them into different buckets so that we know which sections or groups of customers they are most like. Once we have these segments, we use these to predict their future behavior and use that to move into an orchestration layer. We can assign a appropriate marketing strategy to reach that customer through the various channels that you may have. Once we reach out to a customer through those channels, we can then monitor their reactions to our marketing strategy. If it's a positive business outcome, like them coming to our website and browsing and hopefully making purchases, we can use that to improve our data about their transactional data. Similarly, if they don't react well to our marketing strategy, we understand that their behaviors in terms of use of devices or preferred channels is also changing. And that is fed back into the system in order to improve the process. The idea is that a CDP allows you to take all information that you can possibly have about a person, historical, contextual, demographic, behavioral, and so on, and use that to inform the communication and brand interaction on a personalized basis. The persistence of the customer's individual profile has across all channels and sessions reveals a wealth of new traits and opportunities for personalization. You really get a 360 view on the customer.
Yeah, I keep hearing this phrase, customer 360 view from vendors as well as marketers. And as far as I can remember, this whole business of single view of customer, it has been a goal ever since the rise of the relational database almost 40 years ago. And I believe it still remains a key objective. And from what I know, it means many things to many people. So how are you defining a customer 360 view?
So what I mean is that when I'm looking to build a customer profile, many questions come to my mind about that customer that I want to gather information on. So these start as simple questions like, who are they? Which expands into basic information such as name, their affluence, email, phone number, age range, and their street address. And then we get into a little more complicated questions like, what do they buy? And what we mean by that is, what product categories do they care about? Is there a price range that matters to them? Does the quality of products matter to them? Do the characteristics of a product matter to them? As well as, are these products that are friendly with their suite of digital products or not? Further, when do they buy? These are things such as the number of times they have purchased from us. When did they last interact with us, even if it wasn't a sale? Proximity to a campaign, meaning does this person consistently buy during our campaigns and only during our campaigns, or are they someone who is not beholden to the campaign life cycle for purchasing? Because obviously this will change how we market to them. Similarly, is there seasonality to their purchase? Do they only really buy from us during spring or during the holiday season? As well as whether they are correctly being marketed to or properly given appropriate pressure. We want them to want to buy things from us, but we don't want to overly pressure them. Further, price sensitivity. Do they have a price range based off of impulse buys and emotional purchases, whereas they might have a different price range for when they're going to deliberately buy something from us? Quality sensitivity, especially if you are a retailer and you have returned items that you might want to restock and sell, you have to have the question of, do your customers care about whether a product is like new or refurbished? Does that affect how they're going to behave? Does a refurbished product have a sufficiently aggressive price cut that makes it worthwhile for them to purchase? Does that matter to them? Similarly, does the reputation of you as a retailer affect their behavior? And finally, you can think about what's the best channel to reach them. Are they primarily going to be reached through digital channels such as push notifications or email, or do they prefer physical catalogs or email or snail mail that's coming to them? Similarly, do they browse primarily through a single channel? Are they only looking through our holiday calendar or catalog every year? Or are they browsing on their phone and in person and in store? And similarly, are they buying? How does that affect their buying behavior? As well as what channel, when we do market to them, reaches them most favorably. So all of these are considered. Essentially, anything that can improve a marketing campaign is what we're looking for.
Okay, Samir. Now, the other topic that comes up is, marketers tell me that they're already invested in a CRM platform or a DMP platform, or that, their corporate ITs have large data warehousing projects going on. So the question is, why should they invest in a CDP when they've already invested in all these technologies?
So ever since the smartphone was introduced, the state of digital marketing has gone through a radical shift. Customers are mobile and have multiple devices, meaning you can depend on them using a single device, being in a single geolocation, or using a single channel of contact. You can no longer use a device as a proxy for the customer. And the thing is that while customer relationship management systems or CRMs and digital marketing platforms or DMPs do great things for your marketing needs today, they are still both lacking in at least one key need of the marketer. Let's talk about DMPs first. The issue with the DMP is that the data it gathers is based on cookies placed on a physical device that the customer uses. This has two major pitfalls. First, since a DMP is dependent on cookies, it is basing its data gathering on the device rather than the user, which means that if you have multiple users of a single device, such as a PC at home that's shared by multiple members of your household, or similarly, a computer that's in a kiosk at your brick and mortar store, a DMP cannot differentiate between those users. In addition, if you have a single user who has multiple devices that they're utilizing, such as their smartphone, their laptop, and even if they have a smart TV that's enabled to do purchasing, a DMP cannot identify that these three different devices are being used by a single user. The other pitfall that you deal with a DMP is that data is perishable, because the control of whether a cookie remains on the device is in the hands of the user rather than the marketer. Marketing is fundamentally about knowing each of your customers as an individual. But a DMP can't deliver on the promise of personalized service because it lacks a persistent identity graph. So you might say, well, what about a CRM system then? A CRM functions by tracking the interactions a company has had with a customer, such as records of transaction, call center logs, and service tickets. However, these are all intentional interactions between customer and company that need to be initiated. A CRM can only track people once they're already in the sales funnel. It ignores them until they have become a marketing qualified prospect. So for example, if you have a customer or a prospect who's on your website, they're browsing, they're adding things to the cart, but they never actually hit the buy button, how does your CRM track them and market to them? The answer is you can't. If a customer's on your website that hasn't given you any identifying information yet, the CRM does not know them. So DMPs can't give you a persistent profile, and CRMs have to wait until after a customer buys in order to give you that profile. But a CDP tracks every interaction and overcomes both of these limitations. It builds its profile off of all customer behavior. And its profile is based off of an individual's activities and behavior rather than just what is coming in from a given device.
Okay, so the differences between CDPs and CRM or DMPs is clear, but are there any other advantages of a CDP?
Yeah, I believe that there are a few key benefits that a CDP has, which I believe can benefit your business. First, CDPs allow for faster identity resolution. Since a CDP is built on dynamically cross-checking every new piece of data to see what can be derived from that data to improve the profile, You end up with a process where every piece of data serves either as an additive or confirmational role, refining your customer profile as new information comes in and removing falsehoods or anomalies. The second use a CDP has for your business is improving your ability to segment your customers. Usually, segmentation of your customer base is, at least partially, based on conjecture, as you don't have a holistic picture of each of your customers and can only segment them on qualities such as recency, frequency, and monetary value. A CDP allows you to see more latent features, such as number of active channels, customer journey behavior, and so on, which means that you're able to have a better customer 360. This further plays into how well you can personalize your marketing to an individual customer. With a CDP, you can get a really strong image of each customer as well as their needs and interests. This translates into higher quality marketing and thus more favorable conversion rates from prospect to purchase. Finally is the consideration of how a CDP improves your abilities when it comes to data privacy compliance. Many businesses have customers that are located globally and might need to have access to the services from any geolocation. So it is vital for a business to be able to balance the different regulatory requirements of multiple states, countries, and regions. With a CDP, this is easy to do because all the data is being actively gained via opt-in actions on the part of the customer, as opposed to opt-out actions, like a DMP cookie system would have. Thus, your data acquisition policy takes into account your customer's privacy preferences.
Yeah, so the advantages you described, they sound very exciting, but what would be some real business benefits of an investment in a CDP platform? In other words, how does a marketer justify the return on investment on CDP investment?
So in terms of business benefits, I can identify a few key ones. First things first, CDPs allow for much better return on marketing spend. A key consideration in the mind of every marketer is how they can ensure that they aren't throwing away money on marketing to people who are unlikely to buy. With the longitudinal profile a CDP develops for each of your customers, you can get a much better handle on which customers are sure things and worth invested marketing into, and which customers are lost causes. The second business benefit a CDP provides is a sustained increase in your customer base. A CDP builds its profile for each customer, then segments your customers on both the overt and latent features and behaviors of those customers. This means that you will be able to find new customers more easily because you can better map which prospects turn into customers and thus know where to push your marketing so that you have an increased amount of prospects being turned into customers. This dovetails with a other quality, which is that CDPs can reduce your customer churn. Customers churning out of the sales funnel is inevitable, but oftentimes you end up losing customers who are perfect candidates for your business for no other reason than because you didn't market to them correctly. The more precise profiling a CDP allows you to perform, you can reduce the number of customers lost to bad marketing strategy. Therefore, increased customer intake plus reduced customer outflow translates into more revenue. The last business benefit to consider is how a CDP helps protect you from issues with non-compliance. As I said earlier, many businesses are going global, which means having to be much more cognizant of the different rules and regulations countries and economic regions have in terms of user privacy. CDPs help protect you from failing to comply with these regulations because your profiles are built on the information that you gain from customers doing opt-in actions. This is in comparison to how you are usually limited to what your customers out of, and they may end up causing issues when they don't know that they can opt out of something and end up giving you information that they don't want to share.
Fine. So the business benefits are clear. Now let me move over to marketing operations. So can you summarize what kind of marketing activities can be performed by a marketer using a CDP? This is important from a day-to-day marketing operations perspective.
Right. So the way I see it, there are 6 major parts to a marketer's current task list. management of the data that you have on your customers, identity resolution, segmentation of your customer base, analytics and decision-making based off of these segments, engagement with your customers, and finally, an ability to evaluate the performance of your marketing campaigns. A CDP, at least as industry standards presently, are able to deliver on the first three of these points. Unfortunately, the industry has yet to make it a standard that analytics and decision-making, customer engagement, and campaign success evaluation are not yet parts of the industry standard. That being said, there are companies such as Express Analytics that are integrating analytics and decision-making processes into our CDPs, and we do hope that eventually that will become the industry standard. Now, you may think, well, there are marketing alternatives. I can use managed service providers for my data management strategy, and I can use an ESP for evaluating customer engagement. But the thing is that these sorts of services don't generally have the ability to handle the speed and volume of data you're generating on a daily basis. Add to that all of the historical data you need to retain for predictive analytics, and it becomes very untenable to use them. While the CDP is not yet a cure-all for marketers' needs, it covers most of your needs as a marketer and does so at scale and near real time.
Okay, and Samir, lastly, we've sort of almost to the half an hour. Can you give any real-life example where the CDP has been successfully implemented and has delivered benefits that you just described?
Absolutely. So in the case study that I use as an example for explaining the value of a CDP, we had a client who was a retailer based in the US. They'd been finding that they were struggling to integrate their point of sale and e-commerce transactional data together, along with not being able to integrate sales with their browsing activity data, their email marketing campaign data, and their success on campaign interaction data for catalog mailing and email marketing. Essentially, they were deeply data rich, but were insight poor. As a result, they were working in suboptimal conditions, and despite having valuable customer information, they couldn't leverage that. This translated to poor open and click rates and similarly bad return on revenue per catalog. The client needed a customer data platform that would integrate all their data from disparate sources together and could sort, score, and segment their customers efficiently. If they had these segments, they could run email and catalog campaigns using predictive analytics and modeling against those segments. We were able to implement an instance of Oyster CDP for them and integrate all their first, second, and third-party data. We developed their segmentation using RFM scoring and predictive modeling, and the outcomes were fantastic. Due to Oyster CDP, the client saved $200,000 in their first year. They saw improved email open and click rates, and incremental growth in revenue and campaigns of around $2 million. Their customer base has grown from 1 million to 14 million over the course of our implementation. And their database that they use with their CDP can hold and utilize historical data dating back up to 15 years. All in all, a CDP made a world of a difference for their marketing needs.
Great. All right. So this is Mahesh again. So all the attendees, I'm gonna put a couple more questions for the polls now. There is one that I'm launching right now. It should be in front of your screens. So please take time to answer. We're just trying to find out if we are planning to invest in a customer data platform in near future. We'll give a few more seconds for everybody to answer. And then once we have the answers, I will share. And I will put one more question that'll be the last question of our poll. So I see people are answering. We'll give a few more seconds for everybody to answer. I guess I have all the answers, so I'm going to close this poll and then let's see what people are saying. So many of you are actually not sure whether you want to invest. Maybe people are still in the exploratory phase, but there are a few who are thinking of immediately investing in near future. That's interesting. Thank you for your answers. So I'm gonna put the last question from my side for today, and thanks again for answering the first ones. Again, I request all to answer this last question. So whoever is not thinking or thinking on going on to CDP, what is it that is preventing you from moving to a new CDP? And one of these reasons can be stopping you from moving on to CDP. So please take a little bit of time and answer. I'll wait for a few more seconds. All right. Couple more seconds. I see people are still answering. 5 more seconds and I'll close it. Okay, looks like everybody has answered. So closing, and here are the results. So looks like we don't have budget for another platform this year. Maybe people are still going through their budgeting cycles, but at this point, I would like to say that this is the right time. We're at the end of this fiscal year, so you guys might be working on the budgets for next year. Please give a thought to CDP platform and see if you can get some budget. Another is the next one in our list is technology procurement is done at HQ. So maybe some people are don't think that they are in charge of making that procurement. That is fine too. And of course, other priorities ahead of CDP. People may be working on other systems as well. All right, but anyway, thank you so much for your answers for all these polls. And Samir and Udayan, I think that was a very, very captivating discussion. Thank you for all your insights, and I hope we all have gotten a better understanding of customer data platforms. To all participants, thank you so much again for joining us today. I see a lot of questions in the questions pool. But we have already gone above the time limit that we had for this webinar. So unfortunately, I'll have to stop, and then we will have to take the questions later on. I have all the questions from you guys with me. I promise that all your questions will be answered via email. You should expect an email from us answering those questions. In general, if you have any questions, we have a couple of email addresses on your screens, Udayan as well as info. So please send your questions to us. And before signing off, I would like to make an announcement about our next webinar. We will be having our next webinar on December 5th, and we will talk about identity resolution when we meet next time. So I invite all of you to register, and thanks again for joining, and see you next time on December 5th. Have a great day. Bye-bye.